They say history is written by the victors. But what if the real history was stolen, locked in a bunker, and buried beneath the streets of Rome? We are told that the Vatican is the seat of holiness. But deep underground, beneath the marble floors of St. Peter's Basilica, lies a fortress that tells a different story. 53 miles of shelves. 35,000 volumes. 12 centuries of secrets. This is the Archivum Secretum. The Vatican Secret Archives. It is one of the most forbidden places on Earth. More exclusive than the CIA headquarters. More guarded than Fort Knox. For 400 years, the penalty for entering this vault without permission was immediate excommunication. Basically, eternal damnation. What? Is it just boring paperwork? If so, why did Napoleon Bonaparte kidnap the Pope and steal the entire archive in 1810? Why are there rumors of a device called the Chronovisor that can photograph the past? And why, even today, are certain files from World War II still sealed shut? We are going to walk past the Swiss guards. We are going to descend into the bunker. From the letters of King Henry VIII to the alleged evidence of extraterrestrial contact, we are going to find out, what is the Pope really hiding? They say history is written by the victors. But what if the real history was stolen, locked in a bunker, and buried beneath the streets of Rome? We are told that the Vatican is the seat of holiness. But deep underground, beneath the marble floors of St. Peter's Basilica, lies a fortress that tells a different story. 53 miles of shelves. 35,000 volumes. 12 centuries of secrets. This is the Archivum Secretum. The Vatican Secret Archives. It is one of the most forbidden places on Earth. More exclusive than the CIA headquarters. More guarded than Fort Knox. For 400 years, the penalty for entering this vault without permission was immediate excommunication. Basically, eternal damnation. What? Is it just boring paperwork? If so, why did Napoleon Bonaparte kidnap the Pope and steal the entire archive in 1810? Why are there rumors of a device called the Chronovisor that can photograph the past? And why, even today, are certain files from World War II still sealed shut? We are going to walk past the Swiss guards. We are going to descend into the bunker. From the letters of King Henry VIII to the alleged evidence of extraterrestrial contact, we are going to find out, what is the Pope really hiding? To understand the secret, you first have to understand the scale. Most people imagine a library. A nice, quiet room with dust motes dancing in the sunlight. Erase that image from your mind. The Vatican Archives is not a library. It is an iceberg. What you see above ground, the museums, the art, is just the tip. The reality is submerged. The core of the archives is housed in a massive 2-story underground bunker constructed of reinforced concrete. It lies directly beneath the Cortile della Pigna, the Pinecone courtyard. Thousands of tourists walk over it every single day, taking selfies, completely unaware that directly beneath their feet lies the scandalous history of the Western world. The environment down here is artificial. It has to be. Biological agents are the enemy. Mold, humidity, time itself. The air is filtered and temperature controlled to preserve parchment documents that date back to the 8th century. But the most terrifying feature isn't the climate control. It's the fire suppression system. In a normal building, if a fire starts, sprinklers spray water. But here, water is the enemy. Water destroys ink. So, the Vatican uses a gas suppression system. If a sensor detects smoke, vents open and flood the bunker with a gas designed to suck the oxygen out of the room instantly. The fire dies in seconds. But if you happen to be standing in that aisle when the alarm goes off, you die too. The archives are designed to value the information more than the human life protecting it. Access is strictly controlled. Even if you are a cardinal, you cannot just waltz in. Journalists are banned. Students are banned. Only qualified scholars with a PhD and a letter of recommendation from a recognized research institute are even considered. And if you get in, the rules are draconian. No pens, no smartphones, no cameras. You are watched by cameras. You are watched by guards. And you are subject to the rule of specificity. This is the genius of the Vatican's secrecy. You cannot browse. You cannot say, "Show me everything you have on the year 1945. You must request a specific document by its specific index code. If you don't know the document exists, you can never see it. It's a catch-22. How do you ask for a secret if you don't know the secret exists? This system ensures that the darkest files, the ones that haven't been indexed, remain invisible forever. However, there was one man who didn't care about rules. He didn't care about index codes. He had an army. Napoleon Bonaparte. In the early 19th century, Napoleon had a vision. He wanted to make Paris the capital of the world. Not just politically but intellectually. He wanted to own history. So, in 1810 he ordered the entire Vatican archive to be packed up and shipped to Paris. It was the greatest intellectual heist in human history. Imagine the scene. Over 3,000 wooden crates, filled with the records of the Holy See, loaded onto wagons. The convoy stretched for miles. The wheels of the carts groaned under the weight of 1,000 years of dogmas and decrees. They crossed the Alps in the freezing cold. Some wagons overturned in the mud. Documents were lost in rivers. Napoleon didn't care. He wanted to scour those files for evidence. He wanted to find dirt on the popes to destroy the church's moral authority. But Napoleon fell. After the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, the Vatican demanded their archives back. But here's where the story gets dark. The Vatican was broke. They couldn't afford the shipping costs to bring everything back to Rome. So, the papal commissioners made a choice. A choice that makes historians wake up screaming in the middle of the night. They decided to destroy the useless documents. They categorized thousands of volumes as administrative junk. Criminal court records, social data, daily logs. They sold them by the pound. They sold centuries of history to Parisian grocers to wrap fish. They sold them to cardboard factories to be pulped. Bonfires were lit. We know that the Vatican officials burned huge portions of the archives just to save on shipping fees. But conspiracy theorists ask a different question. Did they really burn them to save money? Or was this the perfect opportunity? The perfect excuse to cleanse the archive? If there were documents proving the church's involvement in assassinations, corruption, or illegitimate bloodlines, what better way to make them disappear than to blame it on the chaos of Napoleon's fall? The lost files of 1817 remain a black hole in history. We will never know what burned in those fires. Let's step away from what was lost and look at what remains, because the documents we can see are terrifying enough. Deep in the vaults, stored in a specially climate-controlled cabinet, lies a document that marks the moment science and religion collided. Summary of the trial of Giordano Bruno. Bruno was a friar, a mathematician, and a cosmological theorist. He dared to suggest that the stars were just distant suns surrounded by their own planets. He suggested the universe was infinite and had no center. For this crime of intellect, the Inquisition imprisoned him. The files in the archive detail his interrogation. They detail his refusal to recant. And they detail his end. In 1600 he was dragged to the Campo de' Fiori in Rome, his tongue imprisoned in a jaw gag so he couldn't speak, and burned alive. The archives hold the paperwork authorizing that murder. It's just paperwork. A bureaucratic receipt for a human life. Then there is the file on the Knights Templar. For centuries, we believed the narrative that the Templars were heretics who spat on the cross and worshipped a cat-headed idol. That was the lie told by King Philip IV of France to seize their massive fortune. But in 2001, a researcher in the Secret Archives found something. The Chinon parchment. It had been misfiled for hundreds of years. This document proved that Pope Clement V actually absolved the Knights Templar of heresy in 1308. He knew they were innocent. But he was too weak, too afraid of the French king to stop the executions. So he let them burn. He let the order be destroyed to save his own political skin. The document was there the whole time. The truth was sitting on a shelf for 700 years, gathering dust, while the world believed a lie. This forces us to ask, what else is misfiled? What other absolutions, what other truths are sitting in a box labeled miscellaneous, waiting for a scholar to stumble upon them? Or are they waiting for something else? Now we leave the realm of history and enter the realm of shadow. We enter the infernal section. Officially, the Vatican denies that they hoard occult artifacts. They claim to be the enemy of witchcraft and demonology. But rumor has it that the Vatican possesses the largest collection of occult literature in the world. What? Know your enemy. The crown jewel of this alleged collection is a book called the Grand Grimoire. Dating back to the 16th century, this isn't just a spooky book. In occult circles, it is considered a weapon. It is said to be unbreakable, fire-resistant, and written on the skin of a human being. Its contents? The exact rituals to summon Lucifuge Roficale, the Prime Minister of Hell. The theory goes like this: the Vatican doesn't just want to hide this book to protect us. They are protecting the monopoly on spiritual power. If magic is real, even dark magic, it validates a spiritual reality that the Church claims to control. But what if the rituals in the Grand Grimoire work? What if the longevity of the institution, its immense wealth, and its ability to survive scandals that would destroy any other government, comes from a pact? It sounds insane. It sounds like a movie script. But remember Father Gabriele Amorth? He was the Vatican's chief exorcist for decades. He claimed to have performed over 160,000 exorcisms. He stated publicly that the devil resides in the Vatican. He wasn't speaking metaphorically. He believed that Satanists had infiltrated the Curia. If the chief exorcist believed that evil had breached the walls, is it so hard to believe that the manual for that evil is sitting on a shelf in the bunker? Sound effect: eerie, high-pitched violin string, building tension. But demons are old news. The modern conspiracy theorist isn't looking for horns and tails. They are looking for gray skin and black eyes. They are looking for the alien connection. If you think demons are the most controversial topic in the Vatican, look up. Look at the stars. The Catholic Church has a complicated history with space. They burn people for looking at it too closely. But today, they are obsessed with it. Few people know that the Vatican owns and operates one of the most advanced observatories in the world. It's not in Italy. It's on Mount Graham in Arizona, USA. And right next to the Vatican's telescope is an instrument managed by a consortium of institutions, with a name that seems like a bad joke. LUCIFER Large Binocular Telescope Near-Infrared Utility with Camera and Integral Field Unit for Extragalactic Research. Yes, that is the real acronym. You can't make this up. Why would the Church want to look into deep space with an instrument named after the devil? Whistleblowers claiming to be former employees of the archives suggest that the Church has been aware of extraterrestrial life for centuries. The rumor is that deep in the closed section, there are artifacts recovered from archaeological digs that do not fit the human timeline. Elongated skulls found under the catacombs. Documents describing chariots of fire in the sky from the Middle Ages, interpreted not as angels but as visitors. But here is the real question. The theological nightmare. If aliens exist, do they have souls? Did Jesus die for them too? Or did he have to go to their planet and be crucified again? The discovery of intelligent life would shatter religious dogma. Unless the Church controls the narrative. There is a theory that the archives contain the Omega file, a contingency plan, a script prepared for the day they land. The plan is simple: interpret the aliens not as invaders but as our space brothers, unfallen beings who are closer to God than we are. By controlling the first contact, the Vatican ensures it remains the spiritual authority of the universe, not just the Earth. Are they hiding the aliens? No. They are hiding the proof until they figure out how to spin the story. But space is only one dimension. The other is time. And this brings us to the most mind-bending legend locked behind those walls. The Chronovisor. The story goes that in the 1950s, a Benedictine monk named Father Pellegrino Ernetti was working on musicology, specifically trying to filter ancient Gregorian chants. He stumbled upon a principle of physics that shouldn't exist. He believed that sound and light waves never truly disappear. They just decay and float in the ether, like an eternal recording. Ernetti claimed he assembled a team, a dream team. 12 scientists, including Enrico Fermi, the father of the nuclear reactor, and Wernher von Braun, the father of the space program. Together, hidden in a laboratory deep within the Vatican, they built it. A viewer. A television that tuned into the past. It looked like a cabinet with a cathode ray tube and a series of dials and levers. Ernetti claimed they didn't travel in time. They watched it. They tuned in to watch Napoleon give a speech. They watched Cicero in the Roman Senate. But then they turned the dial to the ultimate target. Judea. 33 AD. The crucifixion. Ernetti claimed they witnessed the death of Christ. They heard his last words. He even produced a photo, a blurry black and white image of a man's face in agony. So, where is this machine? Ernetti said that Pope Pius XII ordered it to be dismantled. The Pope realized that a device that can see anything in the past destroys privacy. It destroys secrets. No government, no person could ever hide a crime again. It would lead to a global dictatorship of information. So, the machine was broken down. Its blueprints were sealed in the deepest vault of the archives. Skeptics say Ernetti was a liar. They found the photo of Jesus, looked suspiciously like a wooden carving from a church in Perugia. But before Ernetti died in 1994, he refused to recant. His last words were, "I saw it. It is all true." Is the blueprint for a time machine gathering dust just a few feet below the Pope's feet? Or is the Chronovisor a metaphor for the archives themselves? A place where the past is trapped, waiting to be viewed? We cannot leave the archives without touching on the third secret. In 1917, 3 shepherd children in Fatima, Portugal, claimed the Virgin Mary appeared to them. She gave them 3 secrets. The first 2 were revealed, a vision of hell and the prediction of World War II. But the third secret was sealed in an envelope. It was sent to the Vatican Secret Archives with strict instructions. Do not open until 1960. 1960 came. Pope John XCI opened the envelope. He read it, and he refused to reveal it. He said the world was not ready. For 40 years the world waited. Panic spread. Did it predict a nuclear holocaust? The end of the world? Finally, in 2000, the Vatican released the text. It described a bishop dressed in white being killed by soldiers. They claimed it was a prediction of the assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II in 1981. Case closed. But, was it? Cardinals who had read the original text whispered that what was released was incomplete. They claimed the real secret spoke of apostasy, a massive loss of faith starting from the top of the church, that the devil would infiltrate the Vatican itself. Critics point out that the released text was on 4 sheets of paper. But witnesses who saw the original envelope in the archives said it contained only 1 single sheet. Where is the other sheet? Is the true prophecy of the church's destruction still sitting in the dark, while the world is fed a sanitized version? We have talked about aliens, time machines, and demons. But now, I want you to lower your expectations and raise your guard, because the truth is often scarier than fiction. What if there is no time machine? What if there are no aliens? What if the 53 miles of shelves are protecting something much more dangerous? Systemic human corruption. The Vatican isn't just a church. It is a bank. It is a political state. During World War II, Pope Pius XII remained famously silent on the Holocaust. Critics call him Hitler's Pope. Defenders say he worked secretly to save Jews. The truth lies in the archives. Only recently opened, these files are beginning to show a picture not of evil, but of paralyzing caution, of prioritizing the institution over the individual. And then there is the money. The archives hold the records of the Vatican Bank, an institution plagued by scandals of money laundering for the mafia in the 70s and 80s. The death of God's banker Roberto Calvi, found hanging under a bridge in London. The documents linking the Holy See to these crimes are not in a spaceship. They are in a ledger. A boring paper ledger. This is the real secret. The Vatican Secret Archives are not a fantasy vault. They are a crime scene. They seal these documents for 75 years not to protect us from the truth, but to wait until everyone involved is dead. They are waiting for the statute of limitations on history to run out. Knowledge is power. And absolute knowledge is absolute power. By controlling the archives, the Catholic Church controls the memory of Western civilization. They decide what is remembered. They decide what is forgotten. Every document they burn is a memory lobotomized from the human race. Maybe the Pope isn't hiding God. Maybe he isn't hiding the devil. Maybe he is just hiding the fact that the men in charge are just men. Flawed, greedy, and terrified of being found out. As we walk away from the bunker, leaving the 53 miles of secrets in the dark, ask yourself one question. If you had the key, if you could walk into that vault and open just one box, would you choose the box marked Jesus? Or the box marked the bank? Sometimes the things we want to find are not the things we need to know. The door is closed. The secret is safe. For now. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the forbidden, hit that like button. It helps us hack the algorithm. And tell me in the comments, do you believe the Chronovisor is real? Or is it just a myth? I'll see you in the next mystery.